What's up? We're
What's up?
here.
We're here.
We're here. We're in it. What's up, Nifers? Welcome back to the show. It has been a little bit,
It's been a little bit.
which is turning into like my opening tagline for our show. Honestly, at this point,
We should change the
uh,
name to a little bit. Been a little
been a
bit.
little bit, been a little bit podcast. I like it. So yeah, I mean, hopefully you have the notification bell turned on if you're one of our subscribers, so you don't have to worry about missing these out when we're live. Because we are. We're just completely random about when we decide to do this thing. So here we are. There's been a lot actually. Um, we've had actually a couple guest spots for Josh on some other podcasts. So if you haven't checked out Victims and Villains or the You Have to Watch This podcast with our friends uh, as a part of our little podcast community, you should definitely check those. Definitely check those podcasts out. Once again, Victims and Villains, and You Have to Watch This podcast.
But I've been waiting to get back here to talk about things with
Yes,
you.
you have.
We got a laundry list. If you've seen our thumbnail, a laundry list of things to talk about.
There was a lot of shit going on, and I'm not gonna lie. There was actually like work gotten away a lot, and a lot of it. But also, what was holding me up from being caught up with some stuff was some gaming that came out, which I am going to talk about a little bit. There's been quite a few developments in the in the Seth world that I've had to try and keep up with, but we're through to the other side of it for the time being. Josh, where do you want to kick this thing off? Because like I'm the one who's probably going to be playing the most catch up here. So
well, I know you brought some lightning round stuff to the table. We have Trailer Palooza that went off, I think, on Monday or something for Brazil Comic-Con or Sunday or something like that. So why don't we do some lightning round stuff and then we'll talk about some of those trailers after that.
Okay.
You want to start us off with something?
Yeah. So I'm going to have you go ahead and Google it real quick. We'll just like you don't have to bring it up on screen or anything like that. Okay. But I think did our faces just disappear? What happened? Or is it because I don't? Okay, never mind. It's because of my OPS feed.
Oh, hey, Alan's here. I picked a good time to tune in. Hell yeah, Alan. Hey, that's right. There he is. You just gave your podcast a little shout out. Nice. All right. Okay, what am I Googling?
Well, so like just so you can kind of like jump back and forth. You might even just search it on Twitter or something like that. But it was an interesting bit of gaming news that blew up somewhat recently, which I thought was actually kind of crazy in given the game. But the Super Smash Brothers.
Oh yeah, I heard about this.
You know it, you love it. If you're in my generation, you grew up playing Smash Brothers because that was like that was one of the biggest titles that came out around sort of like that golden era,
right,
of split screen multiplayer gaming with your friends and all that stuff. Because it wasn't a split screen; it was like all at once. We're gonna throw a bunch of chaos at you, gonna give you all your favorite Nintendo characters, and here you go. Well, obviously for the greater majority of people, you're not really going to hear too terrible much about Super Smash Brothers in between their releases, which generally tends to be when a new console comes out.
Sure.
Well, there has been a wildly dedicated Super Smash Brothers professional scene out there. It's been in the esports circuit for quite a long time now. They've been playing modded versions of Super Smash Brothers Melee from the GameCube, which was like a super big thing.
Yeah,
probably, which is actually my favorite title out of all of them so far.
I've watched some of these championships. They get intense.
Dude, some of the fights that those guys get into is absolutely insane. And you can see the passion that these players are putting into this stuff. They've been putting a lot of time and effort into it. They're streaming it individually.
Yeah.
And
when I fall off the little thing, I'm dead. But in some of these, they'll be like a football field off the platform and somehow get back
on purpose.
I know.
Like so they went out there on purpose just to see who'd be able to recover better. Like and who like they're doing Dragon Ball Z fights in the air for all I know. It's like I'm off the ground for 6 seconds at the most, and that's as Kirby. Like that's the only way that I can actually make that work. But there has been a wildly dedicated scene. It's really fun to watch. So if you guys are on Twitch and you're looking for some time to kill or something like that, just hop on. There's probably going to be a tournament going on, but not specifically for the Smash World Tour. Smash World Tour was an individual company, it was an individual community. I don't want to call it a company right off the bat. It was like that was technically what they were, but Nintendo has always been kind of weird about sanctioning various events using their intellectual property.
Right.
Nintendo has also been like super strict about like what they will allow people to stream and stuff like that. Like certain information gets out about their games, or their games are painted in a certain light. Nintendo really doesn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to sanction tournaments with most games, you'll run into this. They have to license out your tournament circuit, and there's a lot of rules that they need to follow. There's a lot of strictness there. Now, there's a lot of weeds to get into here, and I only got a whiff of the drama that's been going on. But the Smash World Tour had been going on for quite some time, and they've been putting on events completely unlicensed from Nintendo.
Right.
They had been pursuing that license from Nintendo for quite a long time, and they'd been going back and forth, and they kept all the receipts. And there's some interesting stuff to look at.
Nintendo also kind of almost made them feel like they were on the verge of getting it because they were so interested in like the background of the whole thing. Yeah,
they really seemed cooperative for quite a while.
Now we know.
And then out of absolutely nowhere, I think it was the day before Thanksgiving or the day of Thanksgiving. I think it was the day before Thanksgiving. Nintendo gives Smash World Tour. Now this is on the verge of Smash World Tour's yearly championship, the 2022 championship round, and then their 2023 circuit had already been plotted and planned out, and they'd been working with organizers to get all this up and going. Nintendo says, we're not giving you a license. And after a lot of their conversation with their rep from Nintendo, knowing that, hey, you don't have a license, but we're going to allow your events to continue, they pulled the plug on that as well. And so they basically, I don't know that they essentially issued a cease and desist, which tends to be one of like the main Twitter replies in some of the statements that have been going on here, is that Nintendo hasn't outwardly told you not to do anything.
Right.
Well, Smash World Tour came out with a statement saying, hey, this is what we've been doing. Nintendo basically pulled the plug on us, and we're having to cancel the championships for 2022 and all of events for 2023. So they just killed it. They were just done.
Right.
And they were incredibly upset about this. Obviously, like a lot goes into running those events, and the community exploded. And it's the most I've ever heard anybody talk about Super Smash Brothers other than like a release of a new game. And it was pretty crazy. And then you found out that there was another company in there called Panda.
Yep.
I don't know if it's the full name. I don't know if it's Panda Gaming. I can't remember.
Panda Global is
Panda Global. And
the Panda Cup is their thing.
It turns out that while SWT was trying to make all their rounds and get these events organized, and work with Nintendo directly, Nintendo was trying to work with Panda as well, who had already been licensed and has been following the book. Apparently, Panda's CEO had been telling event organizers that the Smash World Tour was going to get canceled before any word like that had actually come out.
Yep.
SWT had told Nintendo that this is what they were hearing, and Nintendo said that they would bounce back on it and try and like adjust that behavior from Panda Global. Well, unfortunately, a lot of that damage had already been done, and Panda was also like advocating that if you work with SWT, you cannot work with us, which was going to be like a big, which is, well, first of all, that's a dick move. It's not cool.
Yeah.
So all of this stuff had been brewing up, and then SWT comes out with their statement right before Thanksgiving, talking about how the events had been canceled. Well, over the past several days, a lot of shit has gone down. Panda Global released their CEO, which a lot of people are calling bullshit on because he's actually the owner of the company as well. So they feel like whoever gets put in place of him is just going to run kind of like the same operation or take the lead from the CEO. Yeah.
Right.
Nintendo came out with a statement basically saying like, no, we never told you to cancel anything, but they've got it quoted and in their words. And it sounds like the kind of legal jargon that Nintendo would use.
Yeah.
And I don't really feel like SWT has any reason to lie at this point because they're losing a shitload of money by having to cancel all these things.
Right.
A ridiculous number of players, crew have resigned from Panda Global or exited the tournament.
80% of the sponsored fighting game division has resigned. 80. That's a lot.
Just about all of the big names that were out there basically exited the tournament. And then the tournament was originally going to go on. We hadn't heard anything from Panda about whether or not they were going to cancel all of that.
Yeah.
And then Panda finally came out with a statement, and I think it was 2 or 3 days after like the blow up.
Mm-hmm.
And they had actually already initially made a statement, which was essentially like a nothing burger statement. Nothing really came out of it. They basically said, no, we're not doing anything wrong, but also not really addressing any of the points that were made against them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it was yesterday, a statement came out that their CEO had been released,
right,
and that the tournament is being postponed. So now it sounds like the Smash community out there themselves, with the cooperation of a bunch of pro players, are trying to organize some sort of a tournament to kind of like make up for what they've lost, because it sounds like SWT isn't able to get things back up and running at this point. I haven't seen any statements out of them other than, yeah, so December 2nd was the last word that we've heard out of anything out of Smash World Tour, and that was their statement where they were kind of like going back on Nintendo's statement and going over the stuff. Like there was a lot of confusion there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was so there were 2 different tournaments going for the end of the 2022 World Tour Championships. It was going to be $250,000 worth of winnings going between Super Smash Bros. Melee and Ultimate. And that all got messed up because of from what it looks like, a bunch of like corporate BS.
Kind of seems like that.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it if Nintendo wanted to officially back one of them. And it's not like Panda Cup just came out this year. It's been around for like 5 years, 7 years, something like that.
Yeah, they've been operating for a long time.
So it's not like they just showed up and now they're squeezing the World Tour team out. But if Nintendo wanted to be like, no, we're only gonna officially sponsor one of you, and then just say that. Like, did you have to like push the other one out? It's not like they're not doing business for you or keeping people interested in your product. They could have just been like, you can keep operating, but we're not going to give you an official license, as you've been doing for the last how many years, you know?
Yeah.
Seems like a dick move.
So yeah, if you're looking for some interesting, like if you're looking for something in the drama world, but you also want like there to be like scorning a bunch of professional gamers is pretty rough. I don't know if you've seen any Twitch rage compilations, but there's some angry people.
Yeah, I've been following this over the past week. Yeah, it's interesting. It's so interesting to me. I'm not a huge player of that, but I know people that are, and just seeing this all follow up like this is crazy.
Yeah. So far, I'm 100% on the side of Smash World Tour. They've been very transparent about what's been going on, and then Panda was like, "We haven't been doing anything wrong. Oh, we're firing our CEO." So there's some shaky shit. So if you're in for a good read, that's a good place to start. Just look up Smash World Tour 2022, and you'll get quite entertained.
What's next? Or do you want me to bring up a topic?
I figured you'd bring up a topic. We'll go back and forth, you know.
Okay, so give and take here. I feel ashamed. Because as you can see behind me, I am a big Batman fan. But apparently, I have been so fucking busy over the last month that I have missed this whole thing called Batman Gate. Have you heard of Batman Gate?
So I remember hearing something a few months ago, like a couple months ago, about a lawsuit, or not. It wasn't a lawsuit at that point, I don't think.
Yeah.
But it was a script that, man, I can't even remember the name of the guy who wrote it. I read it just today. Chris Wozniak.
Yeah.
I just read up on it today, but yeah, like he was making some points, and I think he released a video that, like, there was no spoken word or anything like that. It was just like kind of like
he's released like a series of videos.
It's essentially like a PowerPoint presentation about some alleged script theft or copyright, I guess, which would kind of come down to copyright infringement.
Well, yeah. So I'm a part of a lot of Batman Facebook groups, just because I'm that kind of sad person. And he posted in one of them, and I was like, "Who the hell is this guy?" And then I was like, "Oh, it's that guy." And he just said the lawsuit's official. We're officially suing. But the basic story is Chris Wozniak, like many writers back in the day, especially in the 90s, had this kind of standing thing with DC that you just, if you were a comic writer, you could write stories and send them in, and if DC liked them, they'd pick you up, they'd credit you, they'd do the story. If they didn't like them, they just wouldn't happen. But at that time, it was, if you were in the industry, you could just write a story featuring their characters and send them in. Well, apparently he did that. And while it wasn't word for word, scene for scene of the recent Matt Reeves Batman movie, he believes that his Riddler story, which involved a plague, not a flood, but had other things like a bomb being sent to the Wayne Manor to kill Bruce and ended up getting Alfred. Those type of things were
it was originally in the script to kill Barbara.
Yeah. So
like a lot of the points that like lined up with the plot points in the Matt Reeves that he's making comparisons, there was always like a cross out.
Yeah.
Of a note change or something like that. It's like, okay, well, we don't know when you made that change.
Right. So it's a huge asterisk next to this whole thing. But he believes that there's enough. And on Facebook today, he said that DC believes there's enough, and that's why they're not contesting him. But technically they are. He originally just asked them for a writer's credit and whatever they were paying the other writers for the film. And when that didn't happen, he's now filing suit for stealing his story. And he basically believes that they took his story and that they're not giving him credit for it. So, and apparently they're either countersuing or he's been warned that they could countersue, saying that he didn't have the right to write that story because it wasn't his property to begin with. So it's a lot of back and forth. He has a GoFundMe right now. And he's posting updates about the case, which is all under the Batman Gate name, which is interesting. It's kind of crazy.
I will say at first glance, I was thinking that the guy was like full of shit.
Me too.
Like a lot of the points that were coming up were like one of the plot points I remember him deciding to include, and I don't understand why, was that Gotham is like a criminal. Oh, it was like a corrupt town. I was like, oh, how original.
Yeah, wow.
They said that Jim Gordon is the last good cop. I'm like, wow, nobody's ever fucking thought of that in a Batman IP of any kind. Like, whoa. I remember another one in there being like the Riddler will be a serial killer and mass murderer who will leave behind clues.
Like, oh my gosh.
No way.
He's rewriting the character.
Like, oh my God. That is totally uncharacteristic of Riddler. First of all, I don't think he's technically a mass murderer in this one quite yet. He's like serial killer. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. But until later on, he hasn't quite gotten to that stage yet. Yeah, like a lot of the points that they were trying to like, and there was a laundry list of others. Honestly, I had a hard time paying attention to the video because like nobody was talking. It was just like,
right.
It was just going note for note. But at the same time, like I have read story after story after story, and article after article after article about people saying that their stuff that they have sent in to producers and executives and stuff like that have had a bunch of shit stolen from them to make like big names. And these kinds of cases come up all the time.
I'm sure they do.
And I'm like, okay, well, yeah. And one of the notes that kind of made me think was like it could be plausible here, but like how much of it they actually used, how much they actually would have had, because again, none a huge amount of these were like totally original ideas. Was that he had sent the script to somebody at DC, and producer, and had confirmation that they had seen it.
Yeah,
and I'm like, okay, well that's
in their film producer division. So
yeah.
And so that's a little better than I sent it to dc.org, dcemail.org or whatever.
So, I mean, like I'm still like very leaning on this. Just kind of sounds like a money grab for the guy.
Yeah.
But until the court case comes out, which I'm sure will be reported on pretty heavily for like at least this subsect of the community, because like there isn't going to be a whole lot of Batman news other than this for a little while yet. We haven't really. Like there's people talking about like the sequel for Matt Reeves Batman, but nothing official has come out. we know that there isn't going to be a whole hell of a lot going on as far as Michael Keaton's Batman, unfortunately, because it sounds like a lot of that shit got the plug pulled on it right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, as far as DC is concerned, like this is going to be the thing that's in the news, and that makes me feel like that might be why they were completely fine with letting the case proceed instead of contesting it and like trying to counter or anything like that and argue back.
Like that. Yeah.
It'd be like, because like whether they stole it or not, this is gonna like this could be the thing that gets people talking about Batman, talking about DC stuff. And they're not explicitly blaming DC right now. They're blaming Matt Reeves. The people who are actually on Wozniak's side, they're blaming Matt Reeves and not exactly holding DC accountable for this shit. And so, like, all press is good press in this moment.
Maybe. I mean, he said, because he had an Indiegogo page that was removed. He had a Patreon page that was removed. He currently has a GoFundMe. And on that, he says, Warner Brothers attorneys are not disputing that they used my story to make the film, even though even they know I can prove it. Okay, but I don't think they've come out and said they used your story. So just because they haven't said doesn't necessarily mean they're not disputing it. So instead of providing fair credit and compensation, they're having DC Comics sue me for writing an unauthorized Batman story. Now that is where it's like, well, why would they, because I have heard of that concept of them having this period of time where people could just write stories and send it in. It's not like he wrote a Batman story, had it published, through some independent publisher, and now he's saying, oh, they used it. Like he wrote a script for a story, a concept, a pitch, sent it in and to them, and apparently also sent it to a movie producer, and then this happened. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Then again, Batman's been around since 1939. There's a lot of memorable stories in there, but I'm sure a lot of them kind of sound like other ones, and I'm sure any Scott Snyder or any new Batman writer, when pitching a story, somebody else could be like, well, that kind of sounds like this, but you switched out this character. And it kind of sounds like this incident, but you switched out this natural disaster. I'm sure everything sounds like everything.
Yeah, like at this point, especially in like the plague of Hollywood not going to original ideas quite as often as they should be, or as often as they used to, you're gonna run into some similarities. You're gonna run into a lot of similarities, especially with a comic series that has existed since what, the 1930s, 40s?
Yeah, 1939.
Like, Batman's been around for a little bit. Been around the block a couple times. And like you're gonna run, like there is a certain expectation that people who are going to watch a Batman film or get into a Batman comic are going to expect out of that character, out of Gotham itself as a character at this point.
Yeah.
Like there's going to be certain things that have to exist inside that universe in order to make it a successful film.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff that they did, I mean, this was essentially a revival of Batman and like year 2 Batman, like early Batman.
Yeah.
This is also stuff that's been touched on a lot. So it'd be really hard for them. Like they could pull from like 40 different sources and have come up and 40 different comic series, 500 different fucking comic books, and however many different movies, and pull all these elements together and just be like, yeah, this is the inspiration that we've gotten from. So it'd be really hard to prove explicitly that they pulled it directly from him.
Yeah, it's
unless they
hard.
have some sort of a smoking gun saying like, yeah, I had the script in my hand that this guy sent.
Hey, have you heard of this Wozniak guy? Let's use his script and not give him credit. I doubt there's an email like that. But he's definitely painting them in that light as the big company. He says instead of doing what's right, Warner Brothers and DC Comics opted to fabricate a ridiculous lawsuit designed to bankrupt a single dad with a 10-year-old daughter. They're even seeking legal fees, which we estimate could cost nearly $500,000. So he's going for the I'm the little guy approach, and I guess we'll see if it works out for him. Who knows?
I don't have a whole lot of
it doesn't seem like it's gonna go anywhere, but I'm surprised it got this far, honestly. So I had to bring it up. Sorry, I'm behind the times. If everybody's like, "Yeah, we knew about this months ago,"
very good.
Yeah,
like I said, I had only heard about it, but yeah, like it was a more recent development that they were going to proceed to court. So
right. So, what's your next lightning round?
So, we had some HBO Max stuff going on. So HBO Max is returning to Amazon's Prime Video channels, which was taken away from for a while after that. After the HBO Max service came out, subscribers will get access to HBO Max / Discovery Plus merged service next year, which was kind of what we were expecting. Like I was not necessarily expecting this specifically, but I wasn't expecting HBO Max to go away at all. And essentially it's not, but it is now being like merged into Amazon's Prime's video channels at first, which I imagine that it'll still be a separate service because they don't want to like exclusively take it away from people who don't have Amazon Prime accounts. But Prime members can sign up for HBO Max for $14.99 per month, the same price as through other platforms, through Prime Video app or by visiting amazon.com/channel/HBO Max. Additionally, subscribers will have access to Warner Brothers Discovery's combined HBO Max and Discovery Plus streaming services when it launches, targeted for the spring of 2023.
Yeah, which there's rumors that they've decided on the name for it being.
Yeah, and it's going to have Max involved in some way.
The current rumor is that it's just called Max.
It's just called Max. Okay.
Yeah, we'll see if that turns out. But yeah,
that was just a short one for me. And then like the last thing that I had, I was gonna start instituting a question. It was like a question of the show or something like that, just to kind of pop it in here. And I only found it recently. I found it just before we got the show going. But so this one was from a Reddit user, is posted to the reddit.com/r/movies subreddit.
Okay.
Schlendrius Nebelbank was the username who posted it up in here. I'm going to give credit where it's credit's due. I butchered the name. I'm sorry. But the question was, what are bad movies that have one or more outstanding scenes? And I'm going to make you answer first. What are bad movies that have one or more outstanding scenes? And we're going to I want anybody who's watching right now or anybody who watches the video later on, I want you to answer in the comments below.
You're throwing me out here. Okay. Bad movies that has one or more great scenes.
Yeah. This is kind of like a, maybe you call it a silver lining. Maybe you call it a redeeming like a redeeming quality that stopped it from being like an absolute garbage movie to be like, oh, okay, it's a bad movie.
I'm trying to think of even just recent bad movies that I've seen.
I mean, you've had some shit to say about some horror films.
I know I have.
We were right around in that territory recently.
I know, but you're throwing me out here, and I'm blanking. Let me just search real quick movies of 2022 so I can jog my memory right quick.
Right. Was Eternals?
No, that was 2021.
That was 2021. Okay, well, shit.
Well, you didn't say 2022. You just said bad movies in general. I'm just trying to think.
I didn't. I was trying to,
so it can be in my head.
Yeah, I was trying to think of something recent too.
You know what? I will say this. So, Bullet Train. I didn't really care for Bullet Train. That movie came out this year. It's got a hell of a big cast. It's got Brad Pitt. It's got all these crazy names. It's got all these crazy action scenes. I didn't really care for the film. But there is a fight scene between him and Aaron Taylor Johnson that's both hilarious and it's action packed, and it involves my favorite brand of bottled water. And I like that scene. And anytime I see that scene, it comes up like on YouTube Shorts all the time, and I'm like, I did crack up in that scene. Other than that, I thought that film was just lame, but that's a good scene of them two fighting because it's those two guys. So yeah.
So we got Kongs Are Us saying the new Star Wars trilogy had some bright spots, but overall,
oh god, it's got a lot of dark spots.
I mean that's an easy one.
Easy target.
That's an absolutely easy one. It's like, oh yeah, the last.
What's name one? What's your favorite moment in the new Star Wars trilogy? Kongs Are
there
Us.
You go.
Oh, it's Kongs Are Us. Oh, Kongs Are Us.
Built your arcade cabinets.
Yeah, I haven't talked to him in a long time. Yeah, I'm still enjoying my arcade. Thank you, buddy. If I had to guess, or if I had to name one from the new Star Wars trilogy, I would say that first time in what's the first one? The Force Awakens.
Force Awakens.
Even though I was annoyed that she could immediately fly the Millennium Falcon like that, I loved that first scene where she was like flying through the ship that was, and then she was like cutting it, and then to get around and fire. I thought that was some neat shots and choreography in that, but I didn't like the movie. But there are some fun scenes in that for sure.
This is like, I'm gonna say like the absolute, like I'm not gonna go with a film because I haven't watched quite as many movies recently, and because I'm trying to stick to recently.
Mm-hmm.
The She-Hulk series. Now,
okay.
Yeah. Now you know what? Actually, no. I got to go meaner. Because Thor: Love and Thunder was absolute dog shit. I fucking hated that movie. Like I hated what they did to my boy. I hated how they handled that thing. Mm-hmm. That movie made me so mad. Like it's at the absolute bottom of my list in Marvel films.
And apparently even Chris Hemsworth wants a change in tone for the next one. He even came out and said that. So
oh god, maybe so.
He feels the same.
Oh man, I fucking hope so. We know Taika's capable of it. Like without question, we know Taika's capable of it.
What's the scene that you like from it then?
So I mean, it was in the ending, and it was 100% just like the so Gore is about to make his wish.
Yeah.
Like he was about to make that decision. Thor had an opportunity to try and like save Jane and all that stuff, and he chose not to. And like the conversation that he has with Gore about how like it's just kind of like the nature of what love for that person actually is, and him like wishing his daughter to come back to life instead of wishing all gods die. Like that was a good moment. That was like the only good moment in the whole thing. The problem that I had was that it wasn't earned. Like they didn't earn that out of it.
That happens. Yeah.
The dynamic, like the final like act of that movie had some shining moments in it, but it wasn't enough to save it. It's still at the very bottom of my fucking list for Marvel films.
Yeah, it's down there for me as well. That's a good one.
Next time, give me some time.
Next time, ask the question at the top of the lightning round, and then we'll come back to it at the bottom of the lightning. Right. So I have some time to think about it. I have one more lightning round thing, and then we're going to get into some of these trailers. Where is it? What is it? It was... Shoot, I just lost it. It was the Batgirl dealio. So Batgirl director Adele... I'm gonna fuck up the name. Adele L. Arby. I apologize if that's not the proper way to say that, but apparently Batgirl director has a meeting on the books with James Gunn to discuss a future project. Okay. And in a recent interview with the Hollywood Reporter, Arby has specifically discussed his love for Batman Beyond and how he would love to direct a Batman Beyond film. Now,
I'd love to see one.
I would love to see one too.
I would love to see a Batman Beyond film.
We have heard some things coming out of the Warner Brothers DC camp that they are gonna kind of they're against having too many Batmen on screen. However, when you see things like the Spider-Verse doing really well over at Marvel, and you see that Batman Beyond is definitely in a future that you could put far enough out to where it doesn't mess with the current continuity of your films.
Right.
I could see them doing it. And, so he's been talking about that a lot. It hasn't been confirmed at all by James Gunn, but the fact that they two have an official meeting on the books coming up where they will be discussing a possible future project with that director, since Batgirl didn't make it out, that could be pretty interesting. I would be interested. I've been wanting a Batman Beyond movie, if done correctly, since the 90s. I love Batman Beyond. I thought it was an amazing show. It's still an amazing show.
That's the spot where I would put in Michael Keaton. Like I would put that's where you put Michael Keaton. Who do you cast as lead? Who's Terry in this one?
Oh shit. Like the Maze Runner kid. He's not a kid anymore. I apologize for saying that. What's his name? Maze Runner. Maze Runner. He got hurt really bad, but now he's fine. Dylan O'Brien. I would put Dylan O'Brien in. If you Google him, he looks like Terry. He did a couple action films where he can run and he can act and he can punch and he can do stuff. I feel like he could do it.
All right. Yeah, I can see that. He does have the look for him.
Yeah. I like it. I like him a lot. He's got a lot of charisma. He came up on Teen Wolf and he was the sidekick, and somehow he obliterated the rest of that cast and was really the only person that made it out of that cast into big movies. And I like him a lot.
He looks a lot he looks a lot more like the character I would expect in this Teen Wolf poster here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's very much got the Terry look on him right now. Yeah, no, I can see that.
And he's a great actor too. And he was recently in a Taylor Swift music video, which gets him a lot of points for a lot of people. So,
woo!
Right. Anyway, we have a bunch of other stuff to get towards, and then we got to talk about some other big things. So we're gonna do a speed round. Brazil Comic-Con was over the weekend, and they dropped a lot of trailers, and it threw a lot of people off. I don't think anybody expected this much stuff to drop over the last week.
Out of nowhere.
It really came out of nowhere. And, props to Brazil Comic-Con for being this kind of having this kind of power to have this much drop on theirs. I mean, that's awesome.
It was always interesting watching like the international versions of trailers, because they would always have those cut to a different editor, and so you'd see new shit.
Yeah.
And this time around, they were just like straight up, we're just launching these as a part of it. Like we're just making this a thing now. And it was like, oh shit, okay.
We're not gonna do trailer reactions because me and you have already seen these, but I just kind of wanted to get some quick speed thoughts while we play these in the background. So why can't I get the right? There we go. So the first one, I don't remember the exact chronological order that they dropped, but one of the first big ones was Indy 5, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which is an interesting name.
It's a stupid name. I maintain it's a stupid name.
Yeah, but
it doesn't sound good,
It really
like Kingdom of the Crystal
Doom was kind of corny as well. I don't know. I think they're all
but corny for like the right time period, it was fine.
Sure.
You're competing with Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah. Yeah,
like Raiders of the Lost Ark sounds cool. Even Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was pretty good, but The Last Crusade, like shit, yeah, we're right in there. And then now you got Dial of Destiny.
I could see the Dial of Dementia jokes coming out if he doesn't perform very well as a character. We'll see. They're clearly using they're clearly using some deep fake. He's clearly not the one running around, but I've heard they've spent a lot of money to put his face on a stunt double so that he looks good. This looks like it's going around in different time periods.
It looked like there was going to be some time jumps, which sucks because I'm pretty sure that means we're gonna have some de-aged Harrison in there too.
Is he Han Solo in this movie as well? Because
that scene, I remember seeing that. It's just like, okay, but in all fairness, like there were some like Star Wars like references in the other indie films too. So it's like, that wouldn't be the weirdest thing in the world for them to do. Like,
right.
But yeah, like I will say the trailer, like when the music got going, like it had that nostalgia started welling up in me, because I am one of the people who grew up watching Indiana Jones. And so when the music got going and it started swelling and you could hear like the familiar themes, it was like, oh shit, okay, we're in this. Let's do this stuff. And then I saw the title screen come up and I was like, Dial of Destiny? Come on. It's like Indiana Jones and dialysis is all I could fucking think of. like it just like the title was just dumb. And it I haven't even looked it up. I wonder if because obviously like most of the stuff that they were calling back to in the original films was like based on like real mythology and stuff like that. I've never heard of a Dial of Destiny, Like I had heard, like you had heard of the Ark of the Covenant because that was going back to like biblical stuff.
Sure.
The Shankara stones was going back to a bunch of like familiar territory with Hindu religion. And then we jumped right back into like Judeo-Christian stuff with the Last Crusade and like all of that going on.
Oh my gosh, Kongs.
So, Disneyland. Oh my god.
Nice.
Like it just kind of like it. I don't know. It just doesn't hit.
It's got a hell of a cast, though. It's got a hell of a cast. Mads Mikkelsen, Antonio Banderas, Boyd Holbrook, Phoebe Waller-Bridge is in this. Now, she is not part of the writing credits, but she is. I love her so much. She was part of the writing credits for the last Bond film, and she's great as a writer. It looks like she's just starring in this, but we got to also remember it's directed and co-written by James Mangold, and you know he killed it with Logan. So and that was a send off to another very beloved character. Yeah. So
we've also got Mads Mikkelsen.
Thanks for joining us. For joining us. Have a good dinner.
Like we got Mads Mikkelsen as the bad guy. Like I mean that gives me some hope. That guy gives 120% to everything he does.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna judge it just on its name. I'm sure it'll be fine. And it's too early to tell anyway. So that was a lot. Next trailer is, let me get this back. Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. Now, did you watch Beast Wars when you were a kid?
Shit did.
Yes, you did. You were a cool kid like the rest of us.
And I was wildly confused because I thought Optimus Prime was the gorilla.
Yeah, he was. I mean, apparently not here, but in that iteration, he was.
I wonder if they're doing some time shit or something,
or they're just having him be a different character.
Because wasn't he
Prime?
Wasn't he called Optimus Primal?
I thought he was. So maybe he's just a Prime and not Optimus Prime. But looks like
obviously they obviously opened up with this scene to be like, hey, this isn't what you thought it was. Like here we go.
They've updated the looks on some of these characters. Bumblebee looks great as always.
Bumblebee's back to like the OG Camaro look.
Yeah,
I think this guy's a car thief.
Maybe.
I think he's a car thief who gets kind of thrown into this.
And this is Mirage, the Transformer, which makes sense by his cool little tricks.
Yeah, it's a cool scene.
He does.
We see Cheetor in here somewhere too, and like
right there.
Yeah, right there. Like great scene. Cheetor and Optimus Primal were the only two that I could remember off the top of my head, just because
I recognize her, but I can't remember her name. It all looks good. I mean, it does look good. It looks.
It looks like we're gonna go and see exactly what we're expecting to see. Like we're gonna go in there, we're gonna see some big robots get into a bunch of fights, destroy a lot of shit, and bring back some childhood nostalgia and look cool.
Now, who's directing this? Beast Transformers. Because if it's the same person that directed the other movie, what was the other movie? What was the last Transformers movie? That was all about.
That was the Bumblebee one. Wasn't
that was all about Bumblebee.
Wasn't it just Bumblebee?
Yeah, it was just Bumblebee. So this is directed by Steve Capel Jr. and he did not direct the last one. Travis Knight directed the last one. I liked Bumblebee. I thought Bumblebee was like a pretty good movie. It felt different from the craziness of the Michael Bay stuff. And so maybe if they kind of continue that and keep it under somebody else and reel it in a little bit, it could be just as good. But I thought Bumblebee was fun. So,
I mean, they were going to have to make some changes because wasn't Beast Wars wasn't set on Earth, was it?
I don't remember.
I don't remember there being humans in that one or at all.
I think it was at a different time. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I don't remember. Dude, it's been so long. But I've watched every single Transformers movie, and I remember when Michael Bay brought out the first one, and I was like, holy shit, this is glorious. I know people like to shit on the Bay films a lot. So do I. I think they got a little out of control. But without him, I don't think we'd be here. and this does look good. So
there were definitely some better than others,
for sure.
Like the first one and the third one I remember being okay.
Yeah,
I mean the first one was pretty good. The second one fucking made me kind of mad.
There was we're gonna hold off on the MCU one until we talk about the holiday special. Okay. There was this movie, which is based on a true story and looks like a hell of a good time.
like a stupid fun. Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what. What I found out that it was part of it.
This paramedic guy.
Yeah, he looks like the fucking dude from the customer service TikTok.
Yes, things. I love it. He's so funny in those. I'm so glad he got.
I don't remember his name, which makes me feel kind of bad. But it was cool to see him and just like he's probably gonna die right here. But
no, we see him. We see him in the ambulance later, so he's got a small role. But this is hilarious. This looks so fun,
dude. When I found out that it was based on a true story, I was just like, "What? No!" And then I looked it up, and yeah, like obviously they're embellishing on it in a lot of places, right? But yeah, like they've totally found a bear that ate a bunch of cocaine. I was like, "Oh shit!"
The late great Ray Liotta apparently still has a couple roles left.
Yeah, so, that's sad.
Yeah, but this got
I remember seeing the trailer. I was like, "Wait, didn't he die?" And I was like, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah, young Han Solo there. We got
something like this would be in production for quite a while.
Ice Cube's kid is in there. There's a lot. Kerry Russell's in there. Yeah, this guy.
I feel like that kid's gonna make me laugh a lot too.
Yeah. The dude from isn't he from Modern Family? Yeah, he apparently just gets destroyed. But yeah, this is a great first trailer. And it's enough. Like it's enough of a trailer. Like I'm in it. I want to see it.
Like we need a good dumb comedy again. Like,
But they clearly put some work into it. Like it's not Sharknado level, you know.
Yeah, no, like there's a lot of stuff that's passable as a real bear.
Yeah, it looks fun. It looks a lot. Wow. Yeah, I can't wait to see that movie. That's all I had to say on it. Looks good. When is it coming out? I think it's coming out in February. Does it say? Does it say when it's coming out? This is a long trailer. February
24th.
All right.
So soon.
Yeah, soon. That was quick. Yeah, that looked good. One more trailer, and then we'll talk about the holiday special. I don't know if this came out at Brazil Comic-Con or not, but it came out around the same time, and it was we're not getting a new season of The Boys until 2024. So we're getting this in the interim. It does make me sad, but this looks kind of fun. It looks like there's a narrative going on. It looks like it might be, more than just teenage version of batshit crazy, but it definitely has the same vibes. What did you think about this?
So,
oh my God, it's gory as hell.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't as interesting to me, honestly. The first thing that came to mind was that New Mutants thing where they were going to be like, oh, this is going to be like a horror X-Men thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why that was what came to mind, but that ended up not being that interesting either. But I mean, and then there was a lot of stuff that I'm sure was in here specifically for shock value, which seems to be a lot of what The Boys is actually. So it really shouldn't be surprised.
Wait, that's not what's her name, is it? That's somebody else, right?
Who?
The blonde girl in the interview scene. That's not.
Oh no,
that's somebody else. I was like, whoa, she's changed a lot, but no, that's got to be somebody else.
Might be a young version of her, I guess. It's like, because I don't know what the timeline is on this show. Yeah, like I think we saw A-Train on a vending machine in there.
Right. But, well, it certainly looks bloody as hell. So
yeah, it looks like it's pretty. Yeah, they got Homelander on.
They got Homelander up there still. So, but he's still on top right now. So this could be at any point, or it could be.
I'd be the video guy. I'd be interested to find out where it lands in the timeline.
Yeah.
Because we saw Ashley in there too.
That's not James Franco, right? It looks.
No, that's not James.
Kind of looks like him.
It kind of looks like him, but yeah.
Is that a Muppet version of the Deep? I just realized that.
Jesus.
Wow. That's going to be one hell of a show. Avenue V. Oh, Avenue V. Instead of Sesame
Super
Street
cheeky.
or Avenue Q. Yeah.
Super cheeky.
I feel like that show's going to be stuffed with
I wonder
that kind of stuff.
I wonder if this is going to be after the most recent events of season 3.
I mean, it could be. It could be. And just separated from it all.
Yeah.
Because it's got, what's her name? It's got the CEO chick.
Yeah, it saw Ashley in there.
Yeah, so who knows? I mean, they're all teenager college kids, so I could imagine they would be in their minds pretty separated from the politics of everything going on. So it looks insane.
Know. It didn't jump out at me right off of the bat, but I really like the boys IP right now. Like I've had a lot of fun with that, so I'm gonna give it a shot. Without question, it's gonna get a chance.
I mean, why not? Right?
Absolutely.
It's not like it's gonna be competing with season 3 of the boys. You got some time. You got some time from that.
Ways.
So we got another holiday special from Marvel Studios. We got the Halloween special. Did you ever see that? We talked about that, didn't we?
Yeah, briefly. It was good.
Yeah. This was, I feel like, I don't know if this was the same length. It felt shorter than that, but it was still like around the 50-minute mark.
Yeah, it was 46 minutes. So we're talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special.
Correct.
And
what did you think of it? Format and presentation and everything like that.
Honestly, I might be biased against it. I'm not big on Christmas spirit. I'm not a big holidays guy.
You're a Scrooge. You're a Scrooge guy.
No, not even. I'm just like I never I have no connection to Christmas whatsoever. I have absolutely zero connection to it whatsoever. And honestly, this felt like the Guardians of the Galaxy extra Disney-fied. And so it felt like there was a lot of cringe in it for me, actually. But
really?
But yeah, it was kind of weird to watch. Yeah, it was just kind of strange. Like there was something weird about seeing Drax and Mantis on Earth interacting with people, and kind of like it almost, it felt immersion breaking is kind of what it felt like, that was sort of what it felt like, because there was always a disconnect between the Guardians of the Galaxy and Terrans, which is what they call them. They always kind of portrayed the universe was bigger than that, and so they're trying to bring this in here. It was just at first I was like, this is fine. There was the song opening was weird, but it wasn't bad. It was just uncomfortable for me to watch.
We missed a comment. Brian, sorry, there is a Porsche. Brian's a big Porsche guy. From Transformers. Man, we missed that a lot. My bad. Sorry.
But yeah, without getting into spoilers for anybody who hasn't watched it, because I don't need to do a spoiler review on this.
No,
I was
you don't need to.
This was definitely for a younger crowd. To me, it felt like it was targeted towards young adult humor in a lot of places. Some good moments, some good stuff, and true to their characters, and honestly, kind of a big thing for Quill's character, actually.
Yeah,
kind of an impactful thing that I was surprised that they squeezed into a holiday special. But yeah, other than that, I was just you could other than that one plot point that they squeeze in there, you could skip over this completely.
Well, and I think that was the point. I think it wasn't meant to be this huge, impactful thing.
Yeah. I don't think I was the target audience, so I wasn't wildly entertained by it.
I would push back against your Disney-fied thing, because I felt personally that this was James Gunn written all over it. I feel like James Gunn is versatile enough that you put him in a box, a certain rating, and say, we don't want you to go above this level, and he will push the envelope, but he'll keep it in that. So I felt like, yes, this was kind of more family-friendly, Christmassy, but then you also had characters attacking cops and stealing things and going to a club and stuff like that. I'm surprised there wasn't a strip club joint in this, but they talk about Mrs. Claus working the pole. So there's a lot of there's a lot of wink winks to the adults, and there's a lot of wink winks to the James Gunn fans. But it was clear to me when the story was going to follow more Drax and Mantis, and as you can see from the trailer, that looks like they're going after Kevin Bacon. I think they had a limited budget. You don't see Rocket very much of you see more of like a humanoid, almost plastic looking cosplay version of Groot.
It really did look kind of rough.
The graphics, the even what's her name? Who's Gamora's sister?
Nebula.
Even her outfit didn't look completely like film fresh. It looked, you could tell they were working with a budget, and so going with a couple characters that didn't need as much work as a talking raccoon all the time kind of made sense for the budget. And then the stuff with the band and everything and the music, that definitely felt like James Gunn. But yeah, other than that little point that's fine, we don't have to get into. It didn't feel like it was required watching between Guardian films.
And I don't think it was built to be that way.
No,
I really don't.
No.
I feel like it was meant to be just kind of like a fun thing that they're going to throw in around the holidays to kind of like be inclusive towards Disney's like I do feel like this is something that Disney forced them to make. Like they would not have come up with this if Disney had like not made a push for there to be some sort of like holiday monetization from them. Like, because like as far as our scheduling is concerned, there's not a whole lot going on right now until February.
Well, I liked Kevin Bacon in it. He can sing. We've seen him live with his Bacon band here in Nebraska, so I do like him. I like that he was in it. There was a nod to the DC universe, which is where James Gunn is going, which I thought was interesting. But what was also interesting is that people were kind of sticking around afterwards to be like, okay, is there going to be a plug for the next Guardians movie? Because Guardians 3 is coming up around the corner in May, and there wasn't. But then, like 2 days later, there was. They dropped the trailer,
the full trailer,
which I was like, oh, okay. I'm surprised. I mean, I get it. They dropped it at the Brazil Comic-Con, but I'm surprised they didn't just make it apart. But when you look at this, all of a sudden you're like, well, this looks like it has more money. Everything looks correct. Look at that ship. I got to pause it on that ship. That is a gorgeous looking ship. That is huge. I thought the old ship was fun, but I do like their new ship. That's sexy. That's a cool ship. They had
to get a bigger thing for more crew.
Yeah.
And then they totally fucking troll us thinking that they're coming back, that they're coming to Earth.
Oh, it definitely seemed like that, didn't it? Yeah.
Oh, it really did.
It's Zootopia Earth or whatever you want to call it. They got their new uniforms. Even Groot looks better in this than he did, so they clearly had a strict budget and now they don't. I love that.
This felt like way more true to the characters. Like this was like, this is the kind of chaos I was expecting out of Guardians of the Galaxy. Like I said, the holiday special just seemed kind of muted. For them, which again, if they had to do. But they brought this up, and I'm like, holy shit! Okay, we're gonna see Rocket's more about Rocket. Like we're finally gonna learn about him. Like, is this gonna be his major conflict throughout the whole thing? Are they going to ditch Rocket? Like they drop a scene in here thinking that they're gonna fucking kill him off. And I was like, that was super sad.
We did have a lot of the characters in this film talking about when James Gunn was initially fired from the MCU, a lot of characters were like, no, we're not making a movie without him. Now he's back, but he's only back for this film, and then who knows about the future, because he is moving over to DC. So I'd be interested to see if maybe a couple of these don't make it past this film. They're selling it like it's a different tone than what we expect.
I would almost expect that they're going to be like we're going to lose some characters in this without question. Like at least one of the Guardians is going to die, and I feel like it's going to be Drax, because like specifically because Dave Bautista has already talked about how he won't make, like he was already kind of like dialed back on like how much he wanted to play Drax, because he's got a little bit of body dysmorphia issues going on as he gets older. Like he's having a hard time maintaining the physique that is expected of him at that age, and he's also like not as comfortable stomping around without his shirt on anymore, which is why you've seen him in more costume lately. And like that's a completely valid concern. I really like he should absolutely not have to be forced into that level of objectification for every appearance that he makes in a film. But he's also talked about how he won't make future Guardians movies without James Gunn.
But that was also more around the controversy. I don't know if that's changed now that they're more on an amicable basis. So
sure, but like if he was given like a graceful way to exit the franchise, I feel like he'd be at the point where he'd take it.
These suits feel a lot like Power Rangers meets 2001.
It felt like it was going to be an Among Us parody.
I've seen that too. Yeah.
That seemed like the big thing there. Yeah, I thought it was a good trailer. Like it didn't really tell us anything about the plot. We got a good shot of Adam Warlock. That was pretty cool.
There's a sphincter in space. That's definitely what that seems like. This guy's back.
There's gonna be some jokes there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a serious film like they're presenting it. I'm sure there'll be some comedy, but it definitely seems like a serious tone that could be a theme throughout the film.
Yeah, we're gonna lose some Guardians.
It is interesting that the first Guardians movies were so wacky that then other properties like Thor had to adapt that wackiness, and then they took the wackiness too far with the Love and Thunder, and now the third Guardians movie seems like it's more serious than Thor. It's kind of a weird way that worked around.
It's gonna be
kind of exciting. Like a heavy scene.
That looked crazy. So, but I also feel like that's Quill reacting to one of the characters' deaths. Unfortunately, I feel like one of them doesn't make it.
We got more tree-like Groot here than just
a really cool shot too.
It was a cool shot. I love the music in this trailer. It's a solid trailer. I really like this trailer. I want to say this, and I don't know if they've been through all the films or I'm just noticing it now. It was in the special as well. Their little comm badges here, they look so much like Star Trek, and I can't unsee that. I'm like, why do they have Star Trek comm badges?
Even the Reaver ones are Reaver. Oh God.
What are you talking about? Reavers from Serenity. Yeah.
Yeah. Man. What were they calling themselves?
That Mary Poppins was a part of. Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's on the tip of my tongue. I don't know why I can't think about it. I'm having a complete brain fart right now.
It was something like that. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Ravagers.
Yeah, that was probably it. That sounds right.
For some reason, it felt wrong. They had the little flame emblem.
That's right. They did
on at all times, and so I feel like that's going to be kind of similar to what they got going on.
True. Well, it looks good. Looks like a hell of a good time. I love this end scene. He was like, "We're gonna kill somebody that nobody loves." It looks fun. It looks like a good time. Good send off.
Solid trailer.
Good send off for whoever character dies, and good send off for James Gunn. So looks like he's giving it his all on his way out the door. So yeah. And this might not be the last James Gunn movie. He's definitely not specifically said, I'm done with Marvel. He's just taking a role. And if Kevin Feige has a lick of sense in him, he wouldn't slam that door behind.
Oh, especially not with James one of his Gunn. More successful parts of the franchise.
Yeah. So, well, it's been out for a couple weeks now. It's been done for a couple weeks now, and we have yet to have a finale conversation about the show. I
gotta squeeze one more thing in there before we get going on that.
God, I just pulled it up. Gosh darn it!
I know. I'm sorry.
All right. What is the other thing that we got to bring? Oh yes, never mind. I just removed the paper image. 1 second. I just removed it.
I got to account for a while my time was taken up for so long.
I know. That's right. Let me bring that back up because I want to give you some visual background while you talk about this. Nope. This one.
So for those of you who have not joined the initiated just yet, and Josh, I know that you are among us now because I saw your Steam feed, and I saw that you've got it now.
I don't have the new one. I have the new one.
But you've gotten started.
I started on it, yeah.
And
I mean,
how far in are we?
I'm not very far because I still need to. I've been so busy that even when I get home at night and I'm like in bed, I'm playing NFL Blitz on N64 instead of these games. I need to finish Spider-Man, although I'm loving it. And what I did play of God of War, I really did like. But I'm yeah. But you did you finish the new one?
Yes, I did.
Wow.
And I've 100%ed it already. Oh,
holy shit! Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Now I'm gonna give it to him. Like it was pretty easy to 100% the last one, but it was a little easier on this time. They're not forcing you to play through like the hardest difficulty, which the older games did do. So that's making it a lot easier.
Like, so on the older games you had to play the big difficulty to do 100%.
On the PS3 version, if you wanted to get all trophies, you had to beat it on the hardest difficulty. So
interesting. Okay.
And so that was one of the things. I also wasn't as hooked on the original trilogy as I am on this recent iteration. I played the living shit out of God of War 1. I played the living shit out of God of War 2. And my life got kind of hectic around God of War 3. And so I didn't play that one. I only played through that one like 3 times, I think. But it was a different aesthetic. Like there was a very different experience from the most recent revival of God of War. So 2018's God of War, as it's titled, just God of War. It's not God of War 4, even though it is technically in the timeline.
Right.
It follows on that same timeline. And when it came out, it changed the game for the single player story experience. It was directed as a one shot experience. So there were no cut screens unless you died.
Right.
So you went through beginning to end in a one-shot scenario, which we hadn't seen, like I hadn't seen in a video game before. I thought it was incredible. The voice acting was amazing, and the way that they played with Norse mythology was excellent. They built up the characters of Norse mythology in a way that leaves them in complete mystery, and then Ragnarok comes out and they're like, okay, we're going to bring out these big guns. We were talking about them all. And now we're going to show it to you. We're going to show you what we were building up to. We left you some cliffhangers. We had a lot of notes. Okay. And then they brought it out. And once again, they used the same actors for Kratos and Atreus. So you still have Christopher Judge and Sonny Suljic. Did an absolutely excellent job in this once again. Ryan Hurst, who will be familiar to anybody who's seen Remember the Titans, Sons of Anarchy, are probably the 2 most famous pieces of content that I've seen him in. So yeah, he played Opie in Sons of Anarchy. He played the role of Thor and fucking crushed it.
Okay.
And then you got Danielle Bizzuti, who plays Freya. She makes her return in this, and man, did she put it all on the table for this. And you can tell this game had a really high bar to live up to. And then when they come out, like I finished it so quick because I couldn't put it down. It was like a good book. Like once you get started, like I could not stop. Like every single bit of the story was like, fuck, I gotta see what happens next. Like I gotta know more about what goes on here. The first time I played through 2018's God of War, I wasn't as hell-bent on going through all like the side stories and the favors, as they call them. They're side quests, but they're called favors. Okay. Because I wanted to know more about the story, but like when I went through them and actually did it, like there was important stuff in the story. Like there's shit that you wanted to refer back to. And then this game was no different. Like there was important stuff. Like there was like character defining stuff in some of those favors. And so like I went through and finished almost everything that I could before I actually went through like the final encounter, which they gave you a lot of hints. Like after completing missions, they're telling you, I was like, hey, we don't have to jump right back into what we're doing here. Like you want to take a breather or something like that. You want to explore a little bit. Like the characters give you prompts in really clever ways.
Nice.
To let you know, I was like, hey, might be your last chance. Kind of, you might want to do anything else that you want to take care of. Like they give you a lot of prompts to take care of stuff like that.
Okay.
And then story wise, I don't want to spoil anything for you, because I feel like once you actually do get the time, you're going to fall into that same thing with the first God of War title, and you're going to want to jump into this.
Okay.
It's going to be another one where I'm actually going to loan you out my console. It's downloaded onto the thing. Like, I didn't even try and get a disc. I was like, fuck it. I'm going to download it.
You don't think it'll come out on Switch anytime soon, or Switch? You don't think it'll come out on Steam Deck anytime soon?
I don't think that the wait for it to come to PC will be quite as long as the last one. I feel like with the success that Sony has been having by bringing their titles over to PC, I feel like they're going to shorten that window a little bit, but there's still going to be quite a long gap. I would be surprised. I would be surprised if they brought it out quicker than like a year or two.
Well, they have to. Yeah, they have to sell that exclusivity. I'm sure PlayStation has some rules with that.
Yeah.
I'm sure they dropped it. They dropped the first one on PC so recently to get people like, oh shit, I gotta get a PlayStation 5 to play the next one. You know.
I think that was also kind of like a marketing thing to like kind of test the waters for what the PC community would do with it, which
Sure.
To see if it would be to kind of like determine how long they would want to make people wait for it, because there's going to be holdouts in that PC world. Like first of all, like they probably need to shorten the windows simply because of the supply chain for PS5s.
I know it's still an issue. 2 years later, it's still an issue. It's crazy.
I got the game for PS4, and there are some spots where the game runs kind of rough. And it was upsetting. The game was clearly not meant for PS4. I don't have a PS4 Pro. I have the base version of the PS4. A PS4 Pro probably would have not had as many issues. But from beginning to end, this story was so wildly compelling that I could not stop. I could not put it down. Anytime that I had free time, I was playing the game.
Yeah, I heard that the PS4 version was struggling at times. In fact, it does it look this bad on the PS4?
No, not at all. It looks like a slightly updated version of the 2018 title.
Okay.
But it looks like a downscaled version of what I was playing on the 2018 version when I bought it for PC.
Okay.
Obviously, because my PC is going to be able to run it better than that, and they had done some quality tweaks to it.
Sure.
But yeah, I can't give enough praise to the team who put this game together. The voice acting, like not even just voice acting, like they were doing the motion, like the actors who were playing the voices were doing the motion captures. Their likenesses were based, the characters' likenesses were based off of the actors who were playing them. Like they're putting everything into these performances. Richard Schiff as Odin was a surprise, but holy shit, did he do a good job with it. Like if this was a movie, it would be up for Oscar nomination. Like that's how I feel. That's how I feel about the acting in the performances that these actors actually put into this stuff. Like the line between acting in a movie in a motion capture shoot and acting in a video game in a motion capture shoot is pretty much gone when you're coming to this level here. They are putting in the exact same performance that they would in a film had they the difference is basically gone. Like the caliber of acting that they're trying to put into this is nuts. And then I could go on and on and on. I'm going to try and wrap this up quick, but you've got Bear McCreary, who is in charge of composing. So you could Google Bear McCreary and just look at what he's put together.
Yeah.
Like very, very excellent producer, conductor. Did an excellent job with the music in this again. And then there was an original title that made me cry when the game was ending and the credits were rolling. Like it was a beautiful song that they put together with that. I wish I could remember the name of the vocalist, but there's not a whole lot of times where games will bring me to tears, but both recent iterations of the God of War series have done so, as well as Spider-Man, which I don't know how far you've gotten into that. But
I haven't gotten farther than the last time we talked, so not very far.
Well, Miles Morales is out on PC now, so
I know I saw that.
Now that I've gotten through, God of War, I'm gonna be picking that up. I'm gonna play through that now.
Yeah, I did buy it for Steam Deck. So
that'll be my first time experiencing Miles Morales. I did not get that for console, so the PC experience will be my first time playing through that.
Okay. Well, I've heard amazing things about God of War. I've heard it's already up for Game of the Year.
I'd be shocked if it doesn't get it, honestly, because I saw somebody talking about how it's between God of War and Elden Ring. I'm like, move the fuck aside, Elden Ring. Go fuck.
Elden Ring had a big launch, but yeah,
it had a big launch, but I don't think Elden Ring had quite the has quite the impact as far as like, yeah, it's gameplay and all that stuff that people were like die hard behind, and it's super popular. But like as far as like a game in and of its like entire scope, Elden Ring doesn't hold a candle to fucking God of War.
I just love how, just like last time, there's this resurgence of they should turn this into a movie, and people are like,
no, don't do it.
Well, there's people that have been fan casting, and they're already like, Triple H should play Kratos. And I'm like, do you know who voices Kratos?
Fuck off.
I don't
know. Christopher Judge could play Kratos in a heartbeat.
Right. I don't know how
he's a big dude. He's ripped,
but he's amazing. Like he was a force to be reckoned with on SG1. He's a big dude. I'm sure he's still in pretty good shape. He could do it. Just have him do it. He's the voice of it. You'd have to find Triple H do it.
You'd have to find another kid to play Atreus at this rate, because the actor for Atreus, quite old, is quite a bit taller than he was before. I cannot sing the praises of God of War enough.
All right, well, it's on my list after I get the first one done.
So if you haven't played either one of them, I beckon you, get a hold of it on PC. If you've got a machine that can handle it, get a PS4, play it, buy it used. I don't care. Play through those, have it be a part of your experience. I consider God of War an essential gaming experience.
Okay.
Kind of like The Last of Us, which is something I'm also playing now. Like I picked that one up afterwards because I have to watch that before the show comes out. I have to play that before the game comes. I have to play that before the show comes out now.
Oh, and we didn't talk about that trailer. They dropped the new trailer for that. That looks amazing.
Yeah, that was another one. That was like the full official trailer now too. It wasn't even the teaser.
I want to play that. I was looking to see if it had a PC release yet, and it does not. Sadly.
It is close. It is getting there, I think.
So maybe they'll do something right before the show or during the show's drop or something. But
it's not available for pre-order yet, but it'll get there. That'll probably come out after the show comes out, unfortunately.
Well, one more thing that I forgot to mention before we go into Andor was that Wednesday has dropped on Netflix. And
Jesus Christ, the memes are fucking everywhere for
it. The memes are everywhere, but it's well deserved because this show was fucking fantastic. Maddie and I binged it in a week. We watched 1 to 2 episodes a night for a week. And the first maybe 20 minutes of the first episode, I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm going to like this. But then it kicks off, and I mean, Tim Burton doesn't direct every episode, but he directs many of the episodes, and it's also got a really good flow. And I was like, whoever the show creators for this show, they've got their shit together. And of course, it's Miles Miller and Alfred Goff from Smallville, which I loved growing up, and they're running this show. And it was a fantastic first season. I mean, there was violence, there was mystery, there was a whodunit, there was a love triangle, there was an amazing cast. I mean, it's a good show. I highly recommend it. It's not full horror, so maybe you'd appreciate it, but they sold me on it, and I'm hoping they come out with a second season because they killed the first season.
Yeah, I've been seeing more and more about it, and my Netflix account hasn't been active since we finished Stranger Things, so I got to turn that thing back on.
And it kicked Stranger Things season 4's ass in terms of opening week views. It destroyed it. So and the Jenna Ortega as Wednesday, she's awesome. I was annoyed by her character in Scream, but pretty much everywhere else I've seen her, I've liked her. I just didn't like the Scream movie. It wasn't necessarily her. I just didn't like the Scream movie.
It doesn't sound like that have anything to do with her either. That sounds like writing.
But I hated her character. But she is a great actress and she's just one in a stacked cast, but she kills it as a primary character, and you would hope so, being cast in the lead there. So yeah, highly recommend. That's all I'm going to say about it. But because we need to get on to our main topic.
Yeah, we do.
Our main topic being that of Andor. It's finally done. It's
one way out. Way out.
Season 1 is done. And honestly, this show has been incredibly divisive. You are either in one of two camps. Yeah. It's amazing. It's pure Star Wars. It's what we've always wanted. Or there's no lightsabers in this, and there's no force, and it's not true Star Wars if things don't blow up. And, so it's one of those two things. And obviously, I'm not in that second camp.
No, dude, thankfully I've been spared from most of like the BS because I stopped following pretty much all the accounts on Instagram and Twitter for like on the personal Instagram that I use when I'm actually scrolling through stuff. Like I either hid them or I just like stopped following them, turned them to like muted them around the time that Andor was coming out and while it was airing, mainly to avoid spoilers because Marvel has been doing that left and right. And so is Disney, where as soon as an episode comes out, like a day later, they're showing shit from the episode as part of their teasers. For the next one. I'm like, fuck, I gotta stop that. So
yeah,
the last few times that a Marvel shows come out, I've been like, okay, I'm gonna like put them on mute. I'm not gonna have it. I'm not dealing with it. And so for like the last 2 months, I haven't really been seeing anything from those. So I haven't been reading comments. Like I didn't do it for She-Hulk, and that was kind of like my mistake because I was angry about it. And so I was reading comments of people who were also, I wanted to see people who were also pissed off.
Sure. Share the rage. Yeah.
But yeah, like Black Panther, I hid all the Marvel stuff because I didn't want to see like 14 different versions of their trailer.
Right.
Like did the same thing for Disney. So I didn't have to like listen to any of that stuff. And watching Andor was like early on. So like I said this in a previous episode, me and Cece waited until the third episode was coming out. We watched like the day before the third episode come out, we watched the first two. And then we watched the third one like the day later. The day it came out, we watched the first two episodes, and then the next day we caught the third one.
Okay.
And then the fourth episode was like right around the corner.
Right.
So we got it out early, and they were right to release the first three because this show is absolutely a slow burn, which I think was like the main complaint that most fans had. Is that for the first several episodes, not a whole lot happens, and
it's a slow burn. It's the definition of a slow burn.
It's absolutely a slow burn, but in the fucking best of ways.
Yes, agree.
Like one of the big complaints that I've had that I don't understand why more people didn't have was that the rebellion was always painted as just like a few good people trying to do good by any means necessary, as long as you're still the good guy, as long as you're still painted as the good guy. Well, in this show, they're like, no, there are good people who have to do some fucked up shit in order to take down like a fucked up regime. And
they know it.
They know it. Like they know what they have to do. And they know that terrible things are going to happen to good people. Like bad things are going to happen to good people. Some innocent blood's going to get spilt in order to make sure that like the needs of the many over the needs of the few. Like was a very big theme around a couple of the characters in this show. And another complaint that I've made very vocal actually is that like there weren't a whole lot of parts of the story. Like there was always like a gray area around the rebellion and the Empire. Like I talked about this Reddit post that I still can't find, and it's super sad, but it was like a telling of the Star Wars trilogy from the bias of an Imperial textbook.
From the reverse, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely excellent piece of media. And there was a subreddit around there called The Empire Did Nothing Wrong for a really long time. And it was people basically just memeing about how the rebels were terrorists.
Yeah.
Well, they kind of were in that age. It was like, yeah, just because they were right doesn't mean that what they were doing wasn't terrorism. This show kind of showed you inexplicably all the evils that the Empire actually had. Like, yes,
and it brought you down to their level. It wasn't about the Sith and the
it brought
Jedi.
You down to the ground
was,
level.
what are they doing to you?
It brought you down to the ground level of what their oppression would be to the normal everyday people.
Right.
It's like, yeah, seeing them torture Luke Skywalker or Jedi or like high level political figures or something like that, or like corporate businessmen like Lando Calrissian and like taking over the shit in Cloud City and stuff like stuff like that. You're like, whatever. People are like, well, in the new trilogy, they destroy like 5 planets. Like, yeah, that was the First Order. That wasn't the Empire. It was like, that was the First Order. That was a different regime. Like, they took away that gray area. Yeah, of course they're terrible. And then you saw and when you see the Death Star destroy Alderaan, you're like, okay, well, that's a planet, but it was kind of easy to disconnect from what they had just done until you like really think about it. It's like, yeah, they just wiped out a planet full of people. Well, they're at war and they can spin that shit. No, not here. Not in fucking Andor. They show you how terrible the Empire is, and they shove it in your face, and they make it relatable to what it would be like if you existed in that Empire.
And it gives you reasons why. It gives you reasons why.
Good reason.
Like, because on the outside looking in, you're like, look at this. Look at the giantness of the Empire. What would make individual people go up against that monster? And it gives you several reasons on different levels for different characters as to why they would even think to go up against that. And I loved it. And it was a slow burn, but by the time it started happening, you were like, I get it. I get where this character is. It makes sense for their character. Not, oh, I guess I'm just along for the ride because that's what they tell me to do. You know, I want to talk about spoilers because there's so much about this show that we can't really talk about without that spoiler banner.
Yeah, spoiler free. I just say watch it.
So much
watch it, binge it.
It's easier now, and this is probably one of the issues is that this is a 12 episode season 1 that basically had arcs, had little 3 to 4 episode arcs throughout it. And had they released it in arcs, they wouldn't have got as prolonged trending. But they didn't get the viewership that they wanted in the end. So maybe next time they will release it in arcs. Had they released it in arcs, I think it might have been easier for some people to watch. But now that it's all out, you can watch it in arcs, and that's probably the preferable way to do it. So,
I do think that for the majority of people, this show would be better as a binge watch.
Probably
to having them all available,
because it sucked for me to wait every week. I was like, come on, man.
I had a hard time in between episodes.
Because it was so good and it left you wanting so much more.
And the further they got into the show, the harder that wait got.
And you and me have talked about time management with these Disney Plus episodes and how sometimes an episode just ends and you're like, it's over already. What did they do for the last 20
more like, no, it can't be over here.
Right.
What are you doing to me?
These were 12-hour long episodes. We didn't have any of that 22 to 30 minute bullshit.
No, and 48, I think was like the shortest.
Yeah, and they packed each episode. Like there was times where you could tell the camera lingered where in a tighter show it wouldn't, but it's fine because they put so much into the show. So, but yeah, I would agree that it'd probably be easier to watch if you binged it. Going to spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Everybody on this poster was fantastic. And I loved that you got to see where each of them were coming from. A lot of this is about how the little man got affected by the Empire. But you also see somebody like Mon Mothma, who's rich as fuck. She's a senator. And rich people, through her, like she's not a stuck-up rich person, but through her, you see a lot of stuck-up rich people that are even under duress from the Empire because the Empire is now watching how they spend their money. And the banks are like, yeah, it's your money, but the more you spend it like this, the more you're going to catch their eye. And she clearly has heart in the game, but her money is, she was taking out all this money to fund things in the rebellion, but now she's fucked because she took too much out too quickly and didn't cover her tracks. And that's kind of her story. And I really like that.
I love the way that she faded the heat off of her, though.
Oh yeah, she
Like the
threw
fucking
that
mind game she played, throwing your own husband under the fucking bus.
Who seemed like a dick to begin with, though.
In
Like
front.
I
Oh
didn't,
yeah, no,
I
he
didn't feel
like
that bad for him.
you do not feel bad for the guy. You
Yeah.
do not feel bad for him by design.
Yeah.
Yeah. The and it also calls kind of into question. Like she's like, I'm not giving my daughter up to this creep for a fucking betrothal marriage or something like that. Even though that seems to be what the daughter wants.
And
Like
it seems to
I
be
think
what they do in the finale.
Yeah,
So.
I think she's gonna lose that battle. That seemed like the introduction between the two of them, but
yeah.
I think she's gonna lose that battle because the daughter does want that.
And that's another dynamic of children not understanding the bigger picture, and they're just obsessed with tradition and stuff like that. And the husband clearly doesn't give a fuck, but the mother is seen as the villain in the children's eye because she's more strict and because she's trying to hold on to things. And you feel for her because she's like, God, I get beat the shit out of at work because nobody likes me at work, and then I get treated like shit when I'm home. And I was like, oh my God, it sucks. And now I understand why she became this recluse that wears robes in a cave for the rest of the rebellion. But
yeah, and that was kind of like another part of it because like you also had Luthen who like was another one of the characters who's really showing how like what they're giving up, what they're having to sacrifice. Luthen's Skarsgård's speech or his monologue with his mole explaining what he's sacrificing, what he's having to lose.
Such a good monologue.
Like was an excellent illustration of like Luthen was the character who was showcasing like just how nasty the rebellion had to get in a lot of areas. Like Andor
he's
does
kind of an anti-hero. He's got things that a lot of people would not agree with, and he knows that.
Absolutely an anti-hero.
Yeah,
and it wouldn't even call himself a hero.
No, he says he burns his decency and he's damned for what he does because he is doing terrible things.
For a sunrise he'll never see.
Yeah.
Like he knows like even the like he's not even going to witness like the fruits of all of his labors. Like he's trying to start the fire, fully expecting to burn in it.
But and knowing that he's going to have to burn people in that fire in order to get other people to see it. And I loved his angle. There's a lot of theories about who he is. I don't want to know who he is. I don't want to know his backstory. A lot of people are like, "Oh, he's a Jedi." I don't think he is.
Because he had a stick. Because he had what looked like a lightsaber. Like honestly, I think it would make sense for him to have a lightsaber. I feel like he'd be the type of guy who got a hold one. Yeah,
and he's got a kyber crystal. You know.
Yeah. I feel like he would have been the guy who had gotten a hold of the lightsaber and held onto it like this rare artifact or something like that, and try to use it as a weapon in like a very primitive way. Maybe he just like is the guy who like holds it and like turns it on when somebody's in front of him to kill him like right away or something like that.
Well, it looked like he used it as a staff at one point, like a walking stick, and then it reverts back. But there was another theory that maybe he loved Jedi. I mean, maybe we'll see backstory, but he doesn't, like somebody said, there's no way he could have a ship like that and not be a Jedi. And I would say Tony Stark. Tony Stark has a lot of money.
Dude,
that doesn't make him
look at the people that he deals with.
Right.
Like, look at the people he deals with. Like the amount of money that guy's got going around. Like, of course he would have. Like, and the people he associates with, like, who aren't in like the super rich elite. Like, he's got a lot of money, and then he's got connections with people who would have all the aftermarket shit that he could ever fucking want for a pirate ship. Absolutely, he's gonna have this shit.
If Han Solo is rocking the Millennium Falcon and that dude owes money to everybody, then the guy with all of the money is gonna have a badass ship. And I loved his 100%. Ship. It was small, it was simple, it could look like it was nothing ship, and then in the flash of an eye, it's all of a sudden like this badass little ship, and I loved it. It was a cool
he's got
ship.
like a fucking onboard AI and all this shit, and then he's got like this anti-Star Destroyer tractor beam weapon in there, which was actually another cool ship. Like that was like a concept ship from like early on in the Star Wars days that they didn't end up using.
Yeah, that was neat.
Yeah, it was like an interdicting vessel specifically for arrest. Like I think it was like the Arrestor class.
Yeah,
like fucking awesome.
Who else here? We want to leave Cassian for the end here, but we had a couple of villains. We had Deidre and we had Cyril. Cyril was the
and
definition of
their
incel
oh my
man-child.
god, their cringe as fuck relationship they're
So,
trying to get anything going.
I don't know if they are. I don't know if they are because they didn't
I
commit
don't.
to it. I don't know if the
I
writers are
don't.
shipping them as much as probably some fans are.
I don't know either. I feel like if anything, she's gonna find a way to use him for
Oh,
her
she
own
definitely
means.
is. She definitely is.
Um,
She was definitely
the
scared, and he definitely did save her. But I don't think that's going to make her romantically involved. She might hate him more that he saved her than be in love with him.
she was absolutely excellent in this show.
Yeah.
Like I remember turning to Cece on a couple situations, like right after stuff that she had pulled off, and like just how refreshing it. Just telling her just how refreshing it was to see a competent villain.
Yeah, you were cheering
Like
for her at times.
like there were moments in the show where you're like, fuck, like I don't want her to succeed, but at the same time I kind of do.
Yeah. Even in the
But
beginning, I was watching it with my mom, and my mom was like, "She's going to be a good guy." And I was like, "Why?" Because she's standing up to the regime and she's doing her job
yeah,
well. And I'm like, she
no,
could
she's
just be a
fucking
really good bad guy.
she is all in.
Yeah.
Like she very compelling villain.
I agree.
And like that's like kind of like the part that's missing in a lot of stuff. Again, like I say it about the Marvel series all the time. It's like the Marvel superhero movie is only as good as its villain.
Mm-hmm.
And in this one, the villain's really fucking good. And in Star Wars, like people were expecting, like, God, I'm so happy that there weren't cameo appearances left and right, or like
There
any
really
like
weren't.
there was not. I don't think there was a single reference to Darth Vader in this entire movie.
There
I
was
don't
a
think
reference
to
Palpatine by
Palpatine.
name, Palpatine, but that was about
Yeah,
it.
which you would expect. He's like their boss.
Yeah.
But yeah, you didn't see Vader mentioned at any point. I don't think his name was ever heard.
No.
Like I don't think I ever
not at
even
all.
mentioned his name, which is like, yes,
That's
fucking
fine.
thank you.
That's fine. Yeah.
Like the
Andor was pretty, or I'm sorry, Rogue One had Vader sprinkled in, and it almost felt like that was like the ease into a show like this. Like it was mostly about the little man, but then they threw in Vader a little bit to give you some spice. This is okay.
they even had him in there too much. Like they even had him in there too much. Like the ending version, like the ending of Rogue One should have been the only time that Vader was present.
Yeah. But this is the training wheels off. This is no Jedi, no Force, no Sith. This is all the human angle.
This is
or
the ground. This is the ground level of what you would experience in Star Wars, and they handled it so fucking well. And then they poked. They did what Game of Thrones was like really nailing when Game of Thrones was up and going. It was like they were taking real life situations and like applying them to a fantasy world. And in this, they were doing the exact same fucking thing with the current events that are going on. It was like they had the guy who fucked up and got thrown into a boring office job and was like hating his life, and then would go home and was like getting shit from his parents all fucking day. It was like after being forced to move back home.
Nagging mom.
They dove into fucking for-profit prisons that are basically slave labor. It's like they got into like police oppression. It's like
and corrupt legal systems, and that was one of the most interesting parts. Was there the fact that they did this? That Luthen got his crew to do this heist, and then the Empire's answer to that was fuck everybody. If it's a 3-month sentence, it's a 3-year sentence. We see one scene where this whole kind of vacation resort place.
It was like fucking Florida.
Yeah, it was like Miami. The name even kind of looked like Miami.
Like Miami, Puerto Rico, or some shit.
Right.
Like
and at one point, it's full of people. The next time we see it, there's like nobody there. And it could have been an off season, but it was kind of a stark like, oh shit, they're just pulling people off the street now.
Yeah, because he had just gotten there when the Empire was like, all right, we're gonna fuck everybody's shit up now. And
yeah,
like,
now he was walking suspiciously, but they had no like proof that he did a crime, yet he still got 6 years for it.
They didn't need it.
They didn't.
He got way more than 6 years. Like that was the more fucked up thing. It was like it was bad enough that they were like throwing people in prison for like nothing.
Yeah,
like that alone would have been bad enough. But then the Empire took it an extra step further and like, okay, as soon as your sentence is up, we're going to take you out and then we're going to transfer you to another prison.
Right. And the people that were already in prison got their sentences doubled when that happened, to the point where when Cassian got there, they're like, what's everybody saying about this? Are they fighting it? Are they protesting it? He's like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, because it's, nobody knows about this. So yeah, once you got in there,
you dealt with the people who had been in there and become institutionalized. And Andy Serkis again, like,
oh
my
God,
God, dude,
he's so
my
great.
God, everything he's in at this point, like literally everything that he's in, he does such a good job.
And I know he earned his money initially with that mocap stuff, but he's so much better with it off, with just on camera. His facial expressions,
Dude, again, that's what I
the
was talking
pain in
about.
his face. Oh my God.
Dude, that's what I was talking about in the fucking video game world, man. The line between like a motion capture performance and a real performance are gone. Like they're nothing now. They're expected to be the same thing. Like, yeah, of course, a lot of that is due to the technology advancing enough to where like it is capturing their facial expressions and like their performance is truly being expressed on all that stuff. But yeah, thanks to that technology now, like the line is gone. Like you have to you have to treat it like a real performance, like a real in-person performance now. And yeah, clearly he had his chops down well before he got into this. But my God, he fucking crushed it.
He nailed it. Saw Gerrera was back in this show.
Which a lot of people were calling a cameo, and I don't believe that it is, because like it was kind of like a lead in to a movie that he was also in. So I was like, I don't really call that a cameo. I expected him to show up in this show.
I liked him a lot. I liked how him and Luthen were more than acquaintances, but not necessarily friends. And Saw was just suspicious and paranoid of everybody. He was so much on the fringe and on the edge of things that while he needed somebody like Luthen to buy things from, he didn't trust Luthen. He didn't know who Luthen was. And
like this was Saw Gerrera. This was diet Saw Gerrera too.
Yeah,
like diet paranoia. Like he hasn't even gone into like the full version of the character that we knew at first.
But I did like when they were talking about how, he started listing off all these other little bands of resistance. These people over here, these people over here. I'm the only one with purpose. They're all lost. And Luthen's like, that is the point. We need to get you all together. And then when Saw comes around and says, I'll work with one of them, Luthen comes back and says, we gotta let that dude die.
You're gonna have to pick another one. I'm sorry, but that one's kind of fucked now. Which was another great moment. Like it reminded me of the scene in The Imitation Game, which was based on a real story where they had broken. Like it was a team of like, for those who haven't seen it, The Imitation Game is a great movie. But it was based around Alan Turing, who built like the first iteration of the computer essentially with a top secret team of people who were working to break German code. The German Enigma machine. They succeed. And then they intercept a message showing that there's going to be an attack that they have to let happen, because if they had interrupted it, the Germans would then have known that they had broken the code. And that was like that was a direct reference to that was like the direct reference in this film. Like knowing that if he had interrupted the thing, like right off the bat, like as soon as he heard the news from his guy on the inside of the ISB, he knew it has to happen. I can't prevent it. Like, because if I do, then the Empire will know that something's up. And
such a good combo. And Saw was he was trying to ring. He was like, "Pay attention to me. You're losing focus." Because Saw was looking around and what moles do you have? And can I even trust this guy? And he's like, God. Yes. It was the tension. There's so many scenes like that was just dialogue. And I get how some people who just want action and bullets don't like dialogue-driven shows.
So boring. Come on.
But this is a
you gotta give me stakes, and you're not gonna get great stakes without heavy fucking dialogue moments.
And I love how both Luthen's team and the Empire were hunting Cassian. And because
for very different reasons.
Yeah, Cassian did his job, but he didn't, he wasn't on for the long haul. And suddenly Luthen's like, fuck, there's a guy out there with my name on his lips. We need to kill him before the other guys get to him. I love that angle. And I love the smaller people from Ferrix, like Biggs, or it's not Biggs.
Bix.
It's Bix. And Bix. The guy and his mom. They were definitely smaller roles, but when it brought it back to them in the final episode, the final kind of episode and a half, I was like, this is great, because Bix doesn't come across like, oh, she's going to be this huge character, but just seeing the shit that she goes through and the other people in the town, again, brings you back to that. This is the ground level of how somebody who most people would consider insignificant is still feeling the effects of the Empire, and it's going to make a town rally around them. I love the torture scene. That was, again, just out of left field.
Dude, that doctor is fucked up, man. Holy shit.
Creepy as hell.
That was so good.
I was waiting for the floating torture robot from A New Hope to come in.
Yeah, I was expecting that too. Could have been like, that would have been like their first iteration, but now all that tells me that that's probably more fucked up than what they were doing to Bix.
Yeah, and like, what they did to Bix, making her listen to the agonizing cries of an alien race of children for brain torture. But they did do a nod to that torture scene of Princess Leia, because the door shut and the person walking down the hallway was a shot for shot nod to the Leia scene. So I like that. But yeah, that scene was creepy. It was just, everything about this show was very, very well done and thought out, and you could tell they didn't just go aimlessly. This was a hard thought out 12 episodes, and they packed each one of them with good stuff.
It's like, this was like a dark fucking spy, not even spy, like this was like a dark espionage
thriller
Everybody
calls this filler, but I don't think it was filler at all. I think it was all tension building, just tension building upon tension building.
Like, you remember them talking about how Marva explained that Cassian was like the spark that lights the fire. Is like, you're seeing the spark right now. This is the flint being like, this is the striker being fucking flicked right now. Was that moment, and then they leave it with like not the best cliffhanger in the world, obviously, because like it's a prequel and we kind of know what happens. Which again is like part of like the thing that I hate about prequels, but it's also what I hated about knowing that there's going to be a second season of this. And it was like, it can't be that much of a cliffhanger. Yet I was seeing reaction channels reacting to it. It was like, oh, that can't be the end. It's like, really? It seems like the best place to end it right now.
Yeah. Seemed like part one of a 2-part thing.
Yeah.
And from what we know about the second season, Tony Gilroy's came out and said there's going to be a lot of time jumps. It's going to fill, because this is still 6 years before Rogue One.
Yeah, he's doing his arcs again, where they're going to have...
it's going to fill that gap. And he said there will be a lot more action because the story requires it. Now more people are stepping up. So you can expect that. Not because people didn't like the first season, so we're going to add more action. No, it's because that's the natural progression of things. You need that tension build up. And we were lucky enough to get 12 episodes instead of them trying to pack all of this emotion and tension into a third of a season. You know, clearly somebody did well with convincing Disney, because they spent so much money on this show. They didn't use the volume. This is the longest Disney Plus show currently.
God, it looked so good too.
So
like, even without the volume, it looked so goddamn good.
The sets were great.
Shit.
And then they called it Andor, who wasn't even the primary character of Rogue One, and he's not even the primary character of this show.
No, no,
but that's not a bad thing.
He's very much the catalyst of an ensemble cast.
He's the catalyst, and he inspires other people almost every time. Where a normal show, he would be the one to pick up the reins and lead the fight and say the speech. Instead, he's the one telling other people to do that, or inspiring other people to do that. It's the whole point of the show.
And every single time, like, he would come back to Ferrix or something like that. He was always concerned about everybody else.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, he wanted to get himself out, but he was willing to throw himself into that fire in order to get Bix out of there, or to see Marva again and take her away with him. Which she ultimately didn't do. He was trying to like not involve these people, but like inevitably, like this, it was a tragic hero to where like everything that he touched, like like he's probably going to feel that guilt. It's like everything that he touches gets tarnished.
But he needed that because the character in the first episode was not the character in the last episode, and certainly not the character in Rogue One. He needed to go through all this, and that was the thing. Like Luthen was trying to kill him, and you're like, "Don't kill him! Don't kill him! He's gone through all this. He's a changed person. Just talk to him." You know.
But then you remember Luthen's speech, which is like, "I need all the heroes that I can get," and he's realized in that moment in the end of the series, which. Again, I don't think was a cliffhanger. Like that smile that he gives when he puts the gun back down is like, yeah, he knows. Like this is another one of my heroes. Like I need this guy.
Yeah,
it was like he could have fucking he could have disappeared. Like Cassian could have fucking disappeared. And then even when he had the moment where he could have left, he got Bix out, he got B out. Like which also like the voice actor for that droid did such a good job.
Yeah,
I felt connected to that. I felt connected to that droid. Like shit, like he was really sad.
And his name? Did you catch his name?
B2 emo.
B2 emo, and he's definitely the most.
And he's the most emo character, the most emo droid I've ever seen.
Yeah,
like he had another opportunity to get away with them on that fucking dropship. He could have fucking left yet again, and he bailed on it. Because he was like
he made a choice. He made a choice to I'm not going to bail on this rebellion this time. Yeah.
Well, not even that. Like because he still wasn't signed up for the rebellion. He still wasn't there. He was like, kill me or turn me in. I was like, because he wanted to take himself out of the equation as far as like why his friends were going to be pursued. It's like, yeah, like if I can shake the Empire, which he kind of did in that moment. By getting them off planet, like the last thing that would have been pursuing him were the people who knew him directly, which would have been fucking Luthen.
But he also had that kid in his head. He also had what's his name? He had Nemec, Karis Nemec in his head. He'd been listening to that manifesto. I feel like that had been building up in his head, and he was gonna, either take me out because he felt like that was probably best for everybody, or let me join because I'm ready to join at this point. I wasn't ready before, His arc in this, or his storyline and the shit that he goes through was it was well done over 12 episodes, and I really liked it.
I mean, well done to Diego Luna for playing him so well too. Like excellent job.
Fantastic actor. So
the whole cast really, but yeah.
I have 3 questions for you to close this out. I just kind of want to get your opinion on it. So first of all, we talked about the droid, B2 Emo. I really liked him. He was definitely a different, more of a small droid, but kind of a housekeeper type deal, or go run errands.
He was like a fucking, what are the, like a Roomba?
Yeah, he kind of
was. Like the room. He was like an updated
a tall Roomba. Yeah. So how does he rank in the modern cast of droids that we've gotten from Disney? When you think of the little ball droid, so
BB-8 is BB-8, fine. From the most recent Star Wars trilogy, BB-8's fine. The droid that they tried throwing in The Rise of Skywalker, I don't even remember its name. It was just forgettable. I didn't care.
Yeah. With the little projection thing on the head. Then you have K2SO. That's another droid that's been introduced through Disney. What was the last?
Where would I rank him?
BB-8? No, the last.
Yeah, BB-8's the ball droid. The Rise of Skywalker was where that droid got brought in.
Rise of Skywalker. It was
the little wheel with the fucking cone.
Dio. Yeah, Dio was that droid. I feel like B2 Emo is better than him than Dio. I would put him above Dio and BB-8 because I feel like he was, I liked every scene that he was in, and I felt like he actually cared.
Like it's tough because like the droid characters are always the ones that they put in there specifically to be the one that you like hook onto no matter what. Like they're the character that they want everybody to like enjoy
or to sell toys. To sell toys.
Or to sell toys.
I don't see a lot of B2 Emo toys.
Often both.
Here, child.
Often they're in there for both. I mean, there's like that's kind of a tough one because like the droid world isn't like super huge.
Sure.
With versions, but yeah, I mean, I put him right up there. Like, I still think BD1 from Jedi Fallen Order is the top droid in the Star Wars universe.
That's why I didn't mention him, because
like,
he's at a different level.
He's still up there in the fucking top spot. And I think it has something to do with the droids that can't talk. I think that's kind of like, I think that's one of the bigger parts of it, like where the human character actually has to translate for you.
Yeah.
Which is why like BD1 and R2 are obviously up there. R2 is obviously like an OG. You can't really fuck with that. Chopper from the Rebels series was always funny.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I definitely like B2. I connected with B2 way more than I did BD8 or Dio.
Yeah, I agree.
And more than K2SO, because again, like it's kind of like a thing where it's just like when the droid can talk, that makes it a little bit more difficult. But
well, and B2's kind of old age affecting how he talked kind of helped you connect with him more.
Yeah.
Oh, poor droid.
It was a tough one. It'd be if you asked me to pick which one I liked more between B2 and K2, that's a tough one. Like that's a difficult one, because K2, like, they did a great job with the short amount of time that we had with him.
And a lot of people were sad that he wasn't in this season, but he'll definitely be in next season. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, you're gonna see K2 in the next season for sure.
Right,
honestly, their voices even sound kind of similar.
Yeah, they do.
So like, there's a part of me that's like,
maybe,
oh shit, are they gonna? Yeah,
maybe kind of like what Lando did to the Millennium Falcon or whatever. Yeah. When he kind of synced him in like that.
What kind of connection are we going to see between those characters? You had other questions though.
A few more questions. So the second question is, of the speeches, the primary speeches of this show, you had Luthen had a crazy awesome speech. Kino had a inspirational speech in the prison, and then Marva had the season ender speech, which was just, I did not expect from her character, but it makes so much sense. Which of those, where would you rank that? Which one was your favorite speech? You don't even have to rank them. Just what was your favorite?
Honestly, damn, man, on the spot. Should have expected this question though.
Sorry. I'm getting you back for that other question.
Right. Honestly, I appreciated Luthen's more, because it kind of came more like it filled like all of like the gaps in the rebellion that I was hoping for. Like, because again, he's that character who's doing that ugly shit for them, and so like seeing him like understand just exactly what's going on and explaining it to this guy who just seems to think, oh no, you're just this dude with money who's pulling all these strings and shit.
Right. Yeah.
I was like,
you're not out here like I am. Yeah.
Yeah. But Kino's speech in the prison, like the speech itself wasn't as good, but the scene was better.
Yeah. The scene was good.
Because,
and they were in the same episode, which is hard.
Yeah, they were swelling the music, it had like this gigantic buildup. You had the chanting going on, like, you had like this big moment, and then like he finally gets out. It's like he did like you don't even fucking know if he made it out. Like, so
yeah,
like it's a tough one. Like, it's a fucking that one's difficult to contend with. But like, again, that might be a bias, because like everything I pretty much love everything that I see Andy Serkis in. So
I think I told Alan that I liked Luthen's the most, because it was just so beautiful. Like I could see people saying that monologue for so many acting classes going forward, just because
it was a better speach. But it was a better speech than most, but like the scene itself was not quite as gripping as Kino's.
But it was a good speech. I mean, eat your heart out, screenwriters, because that is good.
That is some fucking writing.
Yeah, but then Marva's speech was just heartbreaking. The more I've seen that speech, and just looking at people looking up at her, and knowing, because when they cast Fiona Shaw, I was like, she's great, but is this all she's gonna do? This is kind of a waste of her character. And then she dies. No. And she tells him that I'm not leaving. I need to be a part of this. And then she records this video to get the entire town behind her. And it was just so good. And seeing Luthen's reaction to it, this is a rare time where he actually sees somebody else agreeing with him in front of the public, and seeing her talk about, They're never stronger than when we are asleep, and it's a wound that's not going to heal. And we used to just turn away and let them do it, and then they'd be gone, but they're not leaving anymore. It was just a good speech. And again, like the keynote speech, it had the music swelling. It had these people looking up at her. It had the Empire like freaking out, like, what the fuck? Can we turn this off yet? You know, it was a great scene. And so yes, it's a hard question.
Oh, and then you had Nemec's like reading, like the reading going on that same episode.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Oh God, there was a line in there. I gotta find that.
Is it the oppression line? It's something about oppression.
It's like unlike tyranny, which requires constant effort. Something like that. Oh man, I wish I could just look up the script or something like that. It's like just kind of like equating like oppression born out of fear. Yeah. Essentially. Yeah. Like, and again, like tyranny is something that they have to work at forever.
Yeah.
Like it just there's so many beautiful moments in there, inspiring to rebel and like. Yeah.
Oh, here it is.
It was a beautiful show.
And remember this: the Empire need for control, the Imperial need for control is so desperate because it's so unnatural. Tyranny requires constant effort. It breaks, it leaks. Authority is brittle. Oppression is the mask of fear. It was a good.
Oppression is the mask of fear. That was the line. Yeah,
it's a good beautiful manifesto. I feel like they should.
Good line.
They should have Tony Gilroy write a whole like book and publish it. That's good. Yeah, I should have included that as well. Okay, last question. There's pretty much 3 arcs in this show. There's the Ferrix arc, which is kind of the first 3 episodes, and the last episode. There's the heist arc, and then there's the prison break arc. Which of those 3 arcs?
Prison break.
Yeah. That's your favorite arc?
Of course.
It's a pretty good arc.
It was so fucking good. And dude, and then you have the end credit scene for the entire finale showing you what the fuck they were building the whole goddamn time. And you're like, oh my God, of course that's what they were building. Like, because everybody was asking, I was like, well, what are they building? What are those things? And you find out that they're fucking reactive panels for the goddamn Death Star.
The thing that kills Cassian is the thing that he was building.
Yeah, he's fucking building the thing that'll ultimately be his death. And then you're like, oh yeah, it was like, because people were like, that was always a fucking point of contentions. Like, dude, so many people had to work to build and maintain the fucking Death Star, and like this rebellion terrorist organization just destroyed it. Like, no, they're using fucking slave labor. Holy shit. Not only were they using slave labor, they were using tortured slave labor.
Could you imagine that? Could you imagine 12-hour shifts of doing the same thing, and you have to do it faster every day or else you get a taste like that.
You have to be not the slowest or you get fucking fried.
And if you get an old man on your crew, you're fucked. And if somebody dies on your crew, you're fucked. There's no sympathy. You're going to get tased whether you have a handicap or not.
If you get a sleepwalker in your cell, you're not sleeping throughout the fucking night. Like, fuck, man.
That sucks. And you're going to be there until you die.
The most fucked up prison I've seen in a show.
It was
before.
Good. It was
like even that show with the prison where the food was like being lowered down through all the floors as it goes along.
Oh
like,
yeah,
even that was less fucked up because at least they weren't making them build a fucking death machine.
Yeah, I did like that. It's not called The Floor. What's it called? The it's on Netflix. Prison Netflix show food. It was called The Platform. Yeah, that was a fucked up movie too. But this one, this was cool. I liked it. It made sense. Like it wasn't some fantastical prison that you're like, this doesn't logistically make sense. Like the fact that they had it in this lake with all these other prisons. They were using water hydraulics and the boots, but they weren't always wearing the boots because they were lazy and they just felt like as long as we keep this level of control, we don't really need to be like on high alert. And then that was kind of used against them. There's so much intelligence that went into just the concept of that prison and the prison break. that I really liked it. It was a good arc.
Honestly, I want to see somebody, like, I'm sure somebody's going to record this, but somebody does like a meeting with fucking Andy Serkis, and I just want to see somebody yell on program at him to see what he does.
Yeah, that's a line.
Or just have him do it. Just like I want to go to a meeting with him at a Comic-Con if he ever goes to one. And I just want to go up to him and be like, hey dude, all right, here's $20. I just want you to yell on program as loud as you fucking can. Like, and I want to see what the line behind me does. Okay. Like, I'll play along with it, but I really want to see what everybody else fucking does. And I'm sure you'd get, I'm hoping that not a huge amount of people have done it already to where it's a cliche. Like, I hope it's like a unique thing for him, but I know it's not going to be.
I feel like there's not going to be that many people that does it, because like I said at the beginning of this show has been incredibly divisive, and there is still crazy amounts of people that don't believe this show is Star Wars or just haven't seen it. To the point that Disney is releasing this on almost every one of their platforms except for ESPN. They're releasing the first 2 episodes on all of their cable channels over the next month, with the exception of ESPN. So they're trying to get people that aren't on Disney Plus to be like, oh shit, what is this? And I've seen some of the comments, and one of them like made the most sense to me, but in the reverse. Somebody was like, this is how I know it's not Star Wars. It's a really good sci-fi show that feels like it should be on HBO. And if it wasn't in the Star Wars universe, it would be a great show. And I'm like, that's almost like a compliment. Like an HBO well-written show in the Star Wars universe. Hell yeah, I'd watch that. Which is why I love the show. So I don't feel like that's the negative that they wanted it to be.
I don't think that doesn't sound like as bad of a criticism as I think they wanted it to be.
Yeah,
I think the fact that it doesn't feel like a Star Wars show is what makes it good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what makes it more compelling, is because it is something that dips into more unfamiliar territory, but familiar at the same time. Yeah. Like, there were a lot of it felt a lot more earthbound, like than the normal stuff does. It felt less science fictiony than
it's grounded.
Science fiction fantasy is grounded. Yeah. That's the better word. That's the better term for it. Like, you identified with these characters a lot more because like you can absolutely get their motives. It's kind of tough to connect to a character who can control shit with their fucking mind, who's a short little dude with big green ears. Like, kind of hard to identify with that fucking character.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to identify with a character who's a super powered fucking dude with a laser sword. Like, it's fucking difficult. But you want to identify with somebody, or you want to fucking sympathize with someone? How about somebody who gets thrown into a prison for doing fucking nothing, or they're being forced to work slave labor on a fucking like oppression engine? Seriously, that would be like getting thrown into prison for protesting outside of the White House and then being forced to build tanks. Like,
like, we're gonna force you to be a part of the
it's like you're like, imagine protesting the fucking war in Iraq or something like that, and then getting thrown in to build guns.
We're gonna fuck you, and then you're gonna make us what we want you to make. It was the most grounded show for sure, and I felt like, while it wasn't like a hard R show, it wasn't like a hard R show. It was also not the least family friendly.
It was Star like right Wars in between PG-13 and R. It was like right in that sweet spot.
You had so many adult themes in this show. You had strip clubs, you had prostitutes, you had suicide, you had straight up murder, you had corruption and corrupt police and the system and torture and slave labor. There's a lot of adult themes in this show, and it's also it's handled so presented at a pace that I'm sure children would be like, this is boring, which is because they're children, not adults. But I feel like perhaps this will catch on over time, especially while season 2 comes around, which unfortunately won't be for another 2 years. But God, I can't wait. Damn, this was good.
It's a long wait.
But I'm so happy that Tony Gilroy got to do this. This just shows me that there are other people that can be trusted with Star Wars content. It's not all just who am I thinking of?
Dave
Clone
Filoni.
Wars. It's not all on Dave Filoni's shoulders, and which we've put it on his shoulders for a while, saying he's the only one that can be trusted.
He's got to be fucking proud.
I'm sure he is. I'm sure he is.
He's got to be proud, because then he's like he's got to be seeing stuff in this and being like, fuck, I can use so much in this.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, I can use so much about this show and my other shit. This is great.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you liked it as much as I did, because god damn, I love this
loved
show.
It.
Yeah,
I loved it.
Good.
I didn't there wasn't a point in this show that I didn't like.
Yeah, I gave it a 5 out of 5. I've loved every part of it, and I feel like I can't wait till the next part.
Yeah,
so
I'm in.
The Wednesday after this show was done, I was like, I feel empty. Like there's nothing.
Right, dude. The last couple weeks, I've been like, fuck, we don't have anything to watch right now. Like I got to turn on our Netflix to watch Wednesday. That's like the only thing people are talking about right now. I was like I was on call all last week, and then we had holiday shit, and I was like, fuck, man, it was boring right now. What's going on? Like that was the only reason that I watched the holidays, the Guardians holiday specials. It's like there's nothing going on right now. And then I watched it. I was like, fuck, that didn't do anything for me. So
yeah, I did watch that coming off the high of Andor, and I felt similar. And it was also weird because it came out in November, and I was like, oh wow, I thought they'd release this closer to Christmas. And
right.
yeah.
All right, well, Nerf Herders, what did you think of Andor? Hit us up in those comments down below. Answer our question. What was a bad movie that still had an outstanding scene that you've seen? It's like, answer that question. I'm going to implement that now. It's like, I'm going to come up with a weekly comment question. But yeah, hit the like button if you like this video. Hit the dislike button if you didn't. Be honest, we can take it. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know when we go live. We want you to be a part of the conversation. We want you here. We will reply to those comments while we are live. We'll bring them up on screen. We'll make you a part of the conversation, even if you don't want to be. If you just threw in a comment just to be there, I'm going to fucking put it on screen. Fuck you. That's how I did. That's how I roll. Have a good one. Check us out on social media at Nerf Herders Assemble, Nerf Herders Crew on Twitter. Until next time, have a good one.
See ya.